Good evening, guys. Good evening, guys. Boxing Gossip here. It's 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, and it's fight week. It's the week of the big fight. Anthony Joshua challenging Charles Martin for the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World this weekend. With what I must say is actually not a bad card in support upon reflection. You know, when I initially was looking at this card, I was quite critical. I didn't think it was a star card. And I think that was because the card lacked a hugely strong co-main event. You know, if we look at the last Anthony Joshua pay-per-view, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Spike O'Sullivan on the undercard. If you look at other big cards, you know, people forget Chris Eubank Jr. Billy Joe Saunders was actually an undercard fight when that took place, you know, and this fight lacks that sort of superstar co-main event, which is a negative. Having said that, if you look beyond that, this is a very good card. You know, the headline fight is obviously a superstar fight. Putting that to one side, you've got two other world title fights, Lee Selby and Jamie McDonnell, two of Britain's best fighters, two of Britain's best technical fighters for the hardcore boxing fans, for the purists. You've got George Groves, a huge name in British boxing, fighting on the undercard. You've also got some really decent trade fights. You've got Brian Rose versus Matthew Macklin, which is a fight that I personally am really looking forward to. You've got Hara Davis, who's stepping up to English title level. You know, and Hara Davis is a fighter a lot of the hardcore fans have been talking about. You know, he's making some waves. He was very vocal at today's press conference, especially dismissive of his opponent. You know, we saw him turn up recently at a Romeo fight and call him out aggressively. You know, Hara Davis is a guy looking to make a name for himself, and he may do that this weekend. You know, you've also got the debut of Nigel Benn's son, Conor Benn, which I know is a fighter that's making massive waves. Some bookmakers are already 5-1. You know, that's short that the guy's going to make it to world title level. So it's a massive card. You know, it's a card that I'm really looking forward to. And I think it's a card with great strength and depth. You know, you've got a huge main event. You've got two world title fights in support, making it 3 in total. You've got great domestic classes in Groves Brophy, Macklin, Rose. You've got really good supporting fights as well. You know, the star appeal of Conor Benn, Hara Davis, and other fighters on the bill as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. I actually think it's turned out into a strong bill. You know, it's a bill that I'm going to support. I'm certainly going to be buying the pay-per-view, and I'm really looking forward to it. In terms of the coverage on my channel, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that I did my prediction video yesterday of Anthony Joshua versus Charles Martin. If you haven't checked that out, please check that out, so you can hear my thoughts on how that fight's going to end, who's going to win it. I'm planning to do prediction fight videos for a lot of the other fights. I'll certainly do one for Macklin Rose. I'll certainly do one for Groves Brophy. I'm going to try and do one for the Selby and McDonnell fights. I just need to secure some time to research their opponents and watch some footage of their opponents in more detail. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to do videos on all of those. I'm going to do a video on the betting odds for the fight. I've actually recorded that already, so that's probably going to be uploaded tomorrow. I'm going to be discussing all the betting odds for the fights this weekend. You know, Pacquiao Bradley, Arthur Abraham, the Anthony Joshua card, etc. So yeah, that will be up on the channel Thursday time, I guess, most likely Thursday. So keep your eyes out for that. I'm also going to try and do videos on the Abraham fight and on the Pacquiao fight as well. Those will be up on the weekend. And, you know, if there's anything particularly eventful that happens, like the press conference at the weigh-in, I'm going to cover those. And obviously on the night, I'll be doing post-fight. So it's going to be a busy week for me on the channel. It's a great fight. It's a great evening. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm going to make the most of it by doing as many videos as possible. The only other bit of channel news is I've got a new image, which is the official Boxing Gossip photo. So check that out. Let me know your thoughts on whether it's got any resemblance to me whatsoever, and if it's improvement. But there you go. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a real big fight. You know, tonight the main purpose of this live show is I want to discuss Anthony Joshua versus Charles Martin. I want to hear people's thoughts on it. Ideally, I want to get a few callers involved. You know, caller numbers have gone up and down. They've been quite changeable of late. But it'd be nice if we could get a few different callers on tonight, have a few different opinions. So I'm going to get Skype up and running in just 5 minutes or so, and then we can get that done. So that'll be good. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't called in before for whatever reason, make tonight the night. Add me on Skype, boxing.gossip, and we'll get you on. We'll get you there straight away. If you've called in before, I can see Jet in the chat. Certainly call in again. Let's get the chat going. As I say, I'll get it up in 5 minutes time or so. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. I'm looking forward to it. Let me just dig into the chat briefly. See who's in the room. Terence says hi. Noah's in the room. Hello both. Evening, Tom. Jet and Taran are here. Good evening, guys. RKO Khan, he's here and he's saying Ahara Davis looking world class. A lot of people liking Ahara Davis. Tom has joined. Evening, Tom. Yusuf has joined. Evening, Yusuf. Walsh has joined. Jet likes to pick, and Rothmus has joined. And he's asking why has Jamie McDonald's fight gone under the radar? I think it's because it's late notice, to be honest. I think they've added in very late doors, and they haven't really had time to promote the fight. But there you go. Right. Thanks to everyone who's joining live. We've got about 30 people watching, which is great. Hacker Time's joined. Yes, massive weekend indeed. So thanks to all the 30 who are watching. Would certainly be very grateful if you're one of those 30. If you could give me the thumbs up, like this video, help me broadcast this to a wider audience and get more people involved going forward. So if you haven't done already, please click the like button. MMA Fanatic has joined. He says he's so hyped for Conor Benn. Am I being excited for nothing? We'll absolutely have to see. We will have to see. Anyway, Skype is up and running. Anyone wants to call in, Jet or anyone else, call in. We'll get you on live. We'll get you on straight away, which will be good. But in the meantime, we'll have a look at what's going on in the chat. Jet saying that Jamie McDonald, being in a small weight class, 118, and being an unfashionable fighter with his style, possibly does fly under the radar, but he's easily world class and top 5 pound for pound in the UK. Absolutely. Don't disagree with any of that. Kiwi has joined. Morning where he is. It's about 8 p.m. where I am, Kiwi. Your man Joseph Parker is over here in the UK this week. I've tried to reach out to him actually, see if I can meet him and have half an hour of his time. Haven't heard back, so I'm not holding my breath, but it would be great if I get the opportunity to. Right, this is an interesting username. Sorry, I'm going to pronounce this wrongly. Aegis Halma says, hi Gossip, you're an absolute legend. Keep it up, man. Thanks very much for joining and thanks for the kind words. And Darren has joined saying, evening Darren, and he's great to be on there. So thanks very much. Jet says he wonders if Mr. Abbasi is watching this. I don't know. I've never actually spoken to him over Skype or over the phone, so hopefully he'll call in one day. But yeah, he seems like a great guy. Saw him do his thing on Box Talk the other day, and he was looking very sound. Gaz has joined. Yusuf has said Tyson Fury will crash AJ's victory. Yeah, I wonder who's going to crash the victory. Is it going to be Tyson Fury or Shannon Briggs? I imagine they're both going to be turning up. Kiwi said the fight is available here at 6 a.m. Sunday. £16.99, great value, can't wait. And that's interesting from an international perspective. You know, I think it is actually good value, especially if you look at the pay-per-view internationally. You look at guys like Joseph Parker, Mikhail Kessler, Robert Helenius. Domestic fans end up paying pay-per-view for all of these guys. So there you are. Aberdeen Ibras says, which fight am I most looking forward to, Khan or AJ? To be honest, AJ, number one, I think there's a more realistic chance of the British fighter winning in that one. Number 2, I'm always a bit of a sucker for the heavyweight division. And number 3, and I know it's not a very hardcore fan thing to say, but it's the truth. The problem with the Khan fight is it's going to be on at 4 in the morning, which means that I'm either going to be dying of sleep deprivation by the time, or I have to go to bed and wake myself up again and drown myself in coffee. So, you know, of course, that's going to be a great fight, and I'll be buzzing for it when the time comes. But at the minute, the AJ fight is the one that is really whetting my appetite. Mr. H says, "Let's go, champ." Indeed, indeed. Hoping that Mr. Briggs has some involvement this weekend. Del Boy says he can't wait for the fight. Absolutely, sir. Evening, Del Boy. Hope you're good. Scunny Tom, how many pay-per-views is this predicted to sell? Very, very interesting question. I debated this on the channel the other day, actually. Dillian White, Anthony Joshua supposedly did around 450. I could actually see this doing less, you know. I could see this doing less. One, on the basis that there isn't the bad blood and there isn't the hype that was surrounding the Dillian White fight. 2, on the basis that Chris Eubank Jr., who's a major draw, isn't on the card. Having said that, it could be... I've just got Dale calling in. Just bear with me for 1 second. Hello, Dale, you all right?
Yes, how are you?
Yeah, very good, mate, very good. Can you just hold for 20 seconds, mate? I just want to finish one comment and then I'll come back to you.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'm sorry.
Wicked stuff, mate, thank you. Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to say, I read an article on Sky Sports today saying that Sky are predicting 1 million pay-per-view buys and that Anthony Joshua was going to make 8 million quid off that if it goes ahead. So that is absolutely crazy money, if correct. You know, I can't see it doing 1 million views. I could actually see it doing less than the White fight. But there you go. You never know. Dale, thank you very much for waiting, my man. How you going?
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. How's your gym training going?
It's okay. Yes, I thought you was going to bring that up.
Yeah. You're doing a bit of boxing training yourself, are you?
Well, yes, I do. But because I actually went on holiday to the Philippines, as I told you before.
Yeah.
I hadn't been going to the gym since I got back. So when you come back, it's always a bit harder, isn't it?
It's so hard to get back into it, isn't it? It's always the first session or 2 back is the harder one. I'm just being told Skype is coming off very quiet. So let's see if we can. Let me see if I can just adjust this slightly and move it closer to the speakers. Let me know in the chat if you can hear the conversation between Dale and myself. Hopefully it's coming through loud enough. So yeah, Dale, what fight are you most looking forward to this weekend, and what are your predictions?
Well, I would say maybe the Joshua fight, actually, even though Bradley is one of my favourite boxers. But because of Joshua's last fight against Dillian White, maybe he isn't that great, even though he's got a good physique and so on. But he was hurt against Dillian White in the 2nd round, wasn't it? So it's interesting in the heavyweight division.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're both good prospects, but they're both vulnerable, aren't they? And as you say, in the heavyweight division, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Are you siding with Joshua overall, or?
Well, I haven't seen any of Charles Martin's fights, but
right.
I don't know. I've got but I hadn't seen any of Dillian White's fights either, so that's why it's exciting, interesting for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, I've seen quite a few of Charles Martin fights, but even with that, he's still a bit of an unknown quantity to me. You know, I've seen a lot of his fights. He's obviously got some tools, but, you know, there's flaws there, as there are with any fighter, as there are with Anthony Joshua. And, you know, when you've got 2 big men, 17, 18 stone, 6'5", 6'6", you know, both of them with very, very high knockout ratios, anything can happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, who do you think is going to win that?
Do you know what? I could see it going either way. No result would surprise me whatsoever. But in my prediction, I went for Anthony Joshua to win by knockout. I just feel that even though Charles Martin is the champion, he's very untested. And I don't think he's been in with anyone like Joshua before. I don't think he's had his chin tested. I don't think he's had his defense tested. And I think Joshua is going to have a big athletic advantage. My only concerns is Charles Martin's a very smart counterpuncher. can he catch Martin going in? I've seen some some comments in the chat says, who says Martin hits hard? I mean, Martin's got a very high KO ratio. So he could counterpunch Anthony Joshua. Or the other thing is the Joshua stamina. That's my biggest concern over Anthony Joshua. He's never been beyond 7 rounds, has he? And that could have a major impact on how this fight plays out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Joshua's physique, and if that would hurt him if someone takes him into the later rounds, like the 9th round, 10th or 11th.
Absolutely. I don't think it can. Having that physique, it may be very, very useful if you're in 1-round fights like he was against Kevin Johnson. It's obviously all about power and explosiveness, but I'll be honest, I'm a much lighter guy than Anthony Joshua. I'm about 14 stone, and for me, the difference when I'm 14 stone and 13 stone and going for a long run, or if I'm going for some exercise at the gym, I can feel that difference massively. It feels so much easier to, even if you lose half a stone, you can just feel so much fitter and stronger. And I just think with those big arms, throwing a jab over 12 rounds, having someone like Charles Martin lean on you and push you around the ring, that physique is not made for a 12-round fight, in my mind.
Yeah, if someone takes him into the late rounds, it probably wouldn't benefit him too much, having that physique. That'll be his downfall, maybe, against someone.
That's my opinion. Yeah, that's my opinion. And therefore, if I was training Charles Martin, what I'd say to him is Anthony Joshua is clearly most dangerous in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. Try and be evasive. Try and use the angles of your southpaw stance. Try and keep some distance. Try and keep the fight at range. Try not to engage. It doesn't matter if you lose the first 3 rounds. You're not coming here necessarily to knock the guy out anyway. I would try and, you're not coming here to outpoint the guy, so I say, you're coming here to knock him out. So I would say, if I was Charles Martin, survive the early onslaught, take Joshua into uncharted territory and try and drown him in the middle to late rounds. I think that's Martin's best bet, personally.
Yeah.
Definitely. What about the undercard, Dale? Is any fights standing out to you from the undercard?
I'm not quite sure about the undercard. I'm not sure who's fighting, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I know that George Groves is fighting, isn't he? Yeah,
George Groves is fighting David Brophy, who's undefeated English super middleweight. But I've looked into David Brophy a little bit. He's very ABC, quite orthodox. Doesn't do anything too surprising. Not the biggest puncher in the world. Quite a light-handed guy. And it's a big step up. So George Groves is a massive favourite. And he should probably have enough to win, but I need to look a bit more into Brophy before I do my prediction for that one.
Yeah, the sense that I get with George Groves is that when he fights someone at a top level, that's when he doesn't perform very well and loses.
Yeah.
In the first Fox fight, that was like his best performance, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
At that point, even though it was stopped too early, even Fox said that, it was becoming Fox's sort of fight because it was going into the late rounds, and Fox is known for his toughness and his conditioning. Totally.
I mean, in that fight, he, as you say, he started brilliantly. What was a bit upsetting for me was there was no tactical adjustment from George Groves. Halfway through the fight, he was substantially ahead on my scorecard at least. I would have liked to see him fight the sort of fight he fought against James DeGale. He's 3 or 4 rounds up. He's got calf rocks hurt. At that point, no need to get involved into a dogfight. No need to get involved into a massive scrap. Get on your bike, use your legs, use your movement. Don't play Froch's game. And for me, that was a key tactical error, and he hasn't been the same since.
Yeah, I've seen a few of George's fights after that, and he hasn't performed at that level since.
Absolutely. No, he hasn't looked the same guy since. Even when he's faced lower level opposition, he's been laboured. That Dennis Douglin fight. Douglin's a light middleweight of limited capability. He looked poor then. He looked poor. So It's going to be a long road back for George Groves to world title level. You know, the rumour is that if he beats David Brophy, it will set up a summer fight with Martin Murray, and that's potentially an interesting fight to look forward to.
Yeah. So about Pacquiao versus Bradley 3, I'm guessing you'll be watching that the Sunday after.
Probably. It depends if the missus is around there, because if it is, I won't be allowed to stay up and watch it. I'll be sent to bed, unfortunately, after the Joshua fight. But yeah, I'll definitely try and watch that. And I'm with Bradley. You know, I think the momentum is key. I also think that you know, Bradley's just got a lot more to offer at this stage than Manny Pacquiao. You know, I think Pacquiao's an older guy. I don't think his style ages particularly well. Yeah, you know, I'm thinking that Bradley is going to be well ahead, mate. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. And I also don't think Pacquiao has the killer instinct anymore. I know that's what Bradley was saying in the lead up to the rematch, but nowadays you get the sense that Pacquiao doesn't seem to care too much if he gets a win or not. He doesn't seem to care if he gets the decision or the knockout. He just seems content with it going a distance. And just, I thought in 2009 when he fought Hatton and Cotton, he had the killer instinct and he wanted to knock guys out. But now you get the sense that he doesn't mind too much if he even wins or loses.
Absolutely. You know, that's Mosley fight was the key for me. You know, there were times he had Mosley hurt and he seemed to be stopping and, you know, keep touching gloves with him and hugging him. The killer instinct seemed to have departed in that fight for me, definitely. And yeah, I think that once you've been to the heights of the sport he has, that Mayweather fight, the biggest fight of all time, you know, it's a real question as to whether he is still motivated for fights like this. That's my particular viewpoint. Yeah, Dale, I must crack on, mate. I must crack on. But thank you very much indeed for calling in.
Thank you too for answering.
Yeah, always a pleasure, mate. Have a good one.
You too.
Cheers. Bye now. Bye. So thanks very much to Dale for calling in there. Much appreciated. Guys, I'll address some of the chat that's going on in the some of the conversation going on in the chat. Now, apologies if I missed individual questions because I haven't you know, looked at them one by one when I was speaking to Dale. But the general gist of it is about who's better, Martin or Joshua. I actually got Jonathan on the phone, so I'm just going to speak to Jonathan first, and I'll come back to that. Jonathan, Jonathan, you dropped off, mate. Call back. If you're watching live, Jonathan, I don't know why I did answer, but it's dropped off. So call back in if you're still there, mate. But yeah, let's talk resume for a second. Now, for me, the answer to this is clear. Charles Martin has a better win, not because of the manner of the win, but because of the opponent. We'll just go to Jonathan. Jonathan, how you doing? I can hear you, mate. I can hear you. Could you put the YouTube thing on mute? How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to the big weekend ahead, definitely.
Yeah, me too. You know, it's exciting. I'm almost looking forward to this Joshua Martin fight more than I was actually looking forward to the White one. I think we all kind of knew what was going to happen in the White one. This is just pure, no one knows what's going to happen. I think the thing I wanted to pick on, what everyone's thoughts on, was what people thought of the build-up and the coverage that Prince Martin's been getting. I mean, he doesn't seem phased to me at all. You know, he seems relaxed. You know, the gloves are on from behind the ropes. The young can work out. You know, he doesn't seem nervous or anything, mate. He just seems chilled out. I mean, most of the guys who Joshua's fought before, in leg, people like that, they look terrified at the weigh-in. You know, they don't work out everything. And I think Joshua kind of knows that. And I don't know, I think he's spooked. yes, I love it. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody commented on one of my videos the other day that Charles Martin reminded them of Lennox Lewis in terms of Lennox's characteristic. And do you know what? I remember watching Lennox Lewis when I was a youngster and watching him fight Hasim Rahman and stuff. And he almost looked like he was going to fall asleep on the way to the ring. You know, the guy was so chilled out, so laid back. You know, there was actually some rumours that he was falling asleep in the changing room like half an hour before fights and stuff. And I can kind of see that in Charles Martin. You know, he is a guy who genuinely seems to be taking it in his stride. And you know, when he says he walks this earth as a god, part of me thinks he actually believes that. You know, is Joshua spooked? I don't know. I think he's certainly aware of the magnitude of the event. You know, I thought that White would get in his head, but when I went to the weigh-in for that fight, and to me, he looks. You know, he looked like he knows he's the star. He knows he's the big draw, and I think they're two guys who are both confident of doing the business.
Yeah, you know, I'll agree with that. It was just the calmness in his eyes. I mean, he just didn't look phased. He was spooky, man. I mean, he reminded me like just like a lion. I don't know, it's weird. I've never seen a boxer so relaxed. You know, he's definitely giving him something to think about. You know, I don't know if anyone else thinks this who's listening in, guys, but did anyone watch the last interview that Cougar and Cassius did on IFL TV with Anthony? He seemed a bit too cocksure of himself. It's almost his attitude sort of changed the last couple of months. I know he's in fight mode and all that lot, but I don't know, he seemed a bit cocky. He's talking a lot about Fury, Hay, Briggs, and maybe he's taking his eye off the ball. I mean, I don't know, all this facade seems to be slipping somewhat. I don't know, I'm not Joshua Hayer, you know, sound like it, but you know, I just think he's overlooking it, and I think he's going to get caught out massively.
Yeah, I saw the interview you mean, and he said he was going to. I can't remember the exact phrase he used, but he said that either way he was going to batter Charles Martin, and he was mindful to like. You know, there's been a few times this week where he's called out Tyson Fury. You know, he said he's I think he called him Fat Boy, and yeah, he said that Tyson Fury should come to the fight to see what he looks like for real and stuff. And he is. I think Joshua has always been mindful not to call out people's names. You know, he felt he was too early on in his career, and maybe he thinks he's getting to the stage now where he's in a position where he can do that. And I guess certainly in terms of the commercials, in terms of ticket sales, pay-per-views, he is. He's still probably one or two fights away in terms of achievements for it. But I guess boxing isn't always about achievements; it's about the money. But Jonathan, are you picking Charles Martin then?
I am. So this is going to get on to my prediction. Is Charles Martin early KO? Joshua coming out attempting to box. Olympic gold medal or not? I don't think he necessarily won the gold. I think he got beat by the southpaw, the Italian fella. Joshua coming out, trying to box, falls in the right hook, not the left hand, it's the right hook you got to watch out for. Very Tony Thompson, David Price-esque outcome from the first fight. That's what I'm predicting.
I can see that. You know, I think in my prediction video, even though I did go with Joshua, I certainly said he's going to be vulnerable to the sort of southpaw counter-punching style. It's going to be very tricky. Charles Martin's a slow-paced guy. He has a look. He judges the reins. He times his punches, and you know, Joshua is vulnerable. And the David Price comparisons are so clear. You know, the fact that they were knocking everyone out, the size of them, the height behind them, the Olympic background, the fact that neither of them tended to really box, the sort of upright, robotic style at times, and also the comparisons between Charles Martin and Tony Thompson are also stylistically there. I mean, you know, I could see it. I could certainly see it. I guess what I'm saying is, even though I'm not convinced by Joshua completely, I'm also not completely convinced by Charles Martin.
Yeah.
And I think on balance, Joshua, despite the fact he hasn't got the belt, may be the more proven of the two. Not that necessarily means it's going to be a win, but there you are.
I don't know. Well, let's go for a draw then.
Let's go for a draw. Absolutely. I think that's the one result it definitely won't be. I cannot see this one going a distance, but you never know. What about the other fights, mate? Is there anything in particular you're looking at?
I'm looking at the Matthew Macklin fight. I think that's going to be fight of the night. I really do. I think it'll go, 10 rounds. I think Matthew Macklin may still have something to offer the division. I mean, he's aging. He looks a bit fleshy in his last couple of fights, but as far as looking at the build-up, seeing him in interviews today that I've watched, he looks in good nick. Brian Rose, I think, really overrated. I mean, obviously, I'm a Lancashire lad myself. I might be supporting Brian Rose, but I don't know. I think that'll be a good fight. As you spoke with earlier in the previous call, I think George Groves, I think he wins comfortably. The size difference in the weigh-in today, I think George Groves is a good sort of 2-3 inches taller. Yeah. He's got the reach advantage. It's a really good card. I mean, so come on. I mean, I don't think there's one fight I'm not. I would have loved to have seen Price on the card, and I would have loved to have seen Chisora on the card as well. I think he should have done a heavyweight card for this, to be honest.
Yeah, that would have been good because obviously a lot of the fans buying a pay-per-view are going to be heavyweight fans, given the nature of the main event. I think Macklin, Rose, I agree with you. That could be fight of the night. My inclination is actually to go with Rose in that one. I just think Macklin's got very little left. He seems to be really at the end of his career for me. The Groves fight, one thing that I'm very interested in is I want to see what weight that fight is made at, because you're spot on. George Groves was not only a lot taller, I also thought he had a lot stronger build. He looked like a bigger guy. And what was noticeable at that Andrea De Luisa fight is that was at a catch weight of 171, 172, something like that. And they didn't broadcast that at all. It wasn't, nobody really knew unless you watched the weigh-in. And for me, George Groves' problems are, one, his punch resistance, and two, his stamina. And given the fact that he's so big and strong at the weight, I know it sounds like a little thing, but that extra 2 or 3 pounds is such an advantage to him. So given that this isn't for a title or anything of that nature, I want to see if it's for a catch weight. And if it is, I think that's a further huge advantage in George Groves' favour.
Yeah, I think you said you might know something about the setting of the Martin Murray fight in the summer. I think they're going to go to Gale end of the year. Now, if you see the interview with Gale on Sky Sports the other day, he was talking about if the public want to see this fight, let's make it. Now, when was the last time the guy's actually going to fight in England? I mean, the guy has to travel. He probably wants that fan base that George has got through, the Frost performances. I think that's going to happen. I can't see the Martin Murray fight happening. I'm going to put my money on the Gale Groves summer. After the Badu Jack, a quick turnaround towards the end. I don't know. This year, Groves, Gale will happen. That's what I think. I think Salmons are going to cash in while they can and make a few quid.
Do you know what? I don't disagree with you. It's the biggest fight for both, and I think whilst James DeGale is in the position of being the top super middleweight in the world and having the belt, he's not getting the big fights. And in hindsight, you've got to say that Lee Selby and James DeGale did not make the smartest move signing with Al Heyman. That hasn't worked out well for them. And as Eddie Hearn said in an interview the other day, James DeGale is actually very far away from being a pay-per-view fighter. Even if he fights Badu Jack, that's not necessarily going to do pay-per-view buys in England. And the only pay-per-view fights that I can see James DeGale in this year are A, George Groves, and B, Chris Eubank Jr. I think the more realistic of the two is definitely George Groves, because George would take the fight, certainly.
I agree, and I'll be honest with you. Come on, if you're Eddie Hearn, do you care about James DeGale? He's not Callum Smith. Do you know what I mean? It's all about Callum Smith setting him up for all the titles. I think he only signed DeGale so he could try and get Groves fight. To be honest with you, you got to take the Wembley Arena thing. He probably wants to recreate that. I think he's just he doesn't really care. I can see him just picking up Callum Smith, and you might even see George Groves v Callum Smith. You just never know. I mean, I think Eddie Hearn's fighters are dropping like flies at the minute, aren't they? He's losing people to Heyman. He's pushing his pay-per-view model. I mean, if the Box Nation guys get their way with the pay-per-view model, and Hennessy's pulled his finger out, recently, albeit a bit of bad luck on the Blackwell bill, but Eddie needs something big. He needs to pull something out. I mean, Cal Brook, it's a big year for Matchroom. I tell you,
it's funny.
Carrying that stable, mate.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Joshua, pay-per-view star, superstar, definitely. Chris Eubank Jr. would have been. Unfortunately, they lost him. But what's interesting is if you look at their other fighters, their other big marquee names, Scott Quigg, Jamie McDonald, James DeGale, Kell Brook, none of those guys are pay-per-view without mega opponents. And at present, Eddie Hearn is not delivering the mega opponents and seems unable to due to the fact that all the mega opponents want to fight on Al Heyman cards in the US. So it's really, really difficult. It's really difficult. And this is why we're probably going to see more pay-per-views on Sky that aren't necessarily Sky pay-per-views, Eddie Hearn pay-per-views, such as Fury, Klitschko. They didn't go in for Canelo in the end, but maybe fights of that ilk. So it'd be interesting to see how it develops. I think he might have a big pay-per-view flop at some point. I think he'll try and market Kell Brook versus Lamont Peterson as pay-per-view, and or DeGale versus Baddy Jack, and might get found out terribly. What
happens on Saturday when his guy Joshua gets stopped in the second, as we predicted, live on Boxing Gossip? What happens if Joshua gets chinned in the second round? Where's the next pay-per-view show coming from? His next fight can't be on pay-per-view.
Just hold on 1 second, mate. I've actually just had a message saying Charles Martin has pulled out of the fight.
What?
Let me just check to authenticate this because it's not from a reliable source. So let me just check. Bear with me.
It's not Jen.
That is, yeah. I mean, Briggs is going to be. I'm not finding anything on Twitter about this. Apparently, it's a troll. Apparently, it's my good friend Terence making it up completely. So, thanks very much, Terence. Thanks for destroying the flow we had going there. I was thinking Shannon Briggs would definitely get a call up if, that would have been entertaining. But you're right. What's going to happen if AJ gets stopped? They're going to come back with domestic level opponents. They're going to stick him in against Derek Chisora, David Allen, Hughie Fury. They're going to come back with those sort of fights and probably still, still get involved in pay-per-view fights. But you're right. I mean, Eddie Hearn's, Eddie Hearn is going to be sweating if Joshua has a. Yeah, especially if Charles Martin can land one of those body shots on him like Dillian White did in their fight. He's going to be sweating horribly.
I'm looking forward to it. I think I might spend time watching Eddie in the replays. I think, but that's about it really. I'm just really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what odds we can get on this second round knockout as predicted. You might pay for a pizza, I don't know.
Mate, you get more than a pizza out of it. I'll tell you, I imagine you'll get at least 25 to 1 on that.
You big pizza.
At least, yeah. Extra cheese, yeah, definitely. Mate, enjoy the fights. Thanks very much for calling in, and I hope to speak to you again.
All the best, mate. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Jonathan. Enjoy. Bye now. Good stuff. Thanks very much to Jonathan for calling in. Thanks very much to Dale for calling in earlier. Terence. I've got to give credit where it's due, Terence. A lot of people in the YouTube boxing community don't like Terence, but I've got to say, sometimes, and not all the times, but every so often, his sense of humour, I do find entertaining. And, I've got to say, fair play to you, Terence. Good chat. Right. Thanks very much again to Jonathan for calling in. Great call. Let me go back to what I was going to address before that, which is people are talking about is Briggs going to get a UK license. I think he will actually. He's apparently passed the brain scan recently. So there we go. But let me talk about resumes briefly because people were talking about that earlier. The Glasgow win on Martin's record is the biggest win on both guys' resume. I know the nature of the win wasn't great. I know Glasgow pulled out injured, and it wasn't the type of win that people like to see. So I'm not going You know, suggest that that was a great win. But beating Glazkov was a very, very good win. You know, Glazkov was rated by most in the top 10 of the heavyweight division. He had some form with the likes of Malik Scott, Adamek, Cunningham. You know, he struggled in those fights. He didn't look great, but nevertheless, you know, he proved he was at fringe world level. You know, Anthony Joshua doesn't have a name like Glazkov on his resume. For me, Dillian White was a lower level opponent. He didn't have the form of a Glazkov. Dillian White was a guy, it was a real prospect. He has the potential to get up there, don't get me wrong. But at no stage had Dillian White been in with the likes of Steve Cunningham, or at no stage did he get in with the likes of a Malik Scott. You know, Callum's saying, can we stop saying Glazkov was a win? No, I completely disagree, actually. I completely disagree. The Glazkov fight was a definite win for Martin. Glazkov was an Olympic standard amateur boxer, and I scored every single round of that fight before the stoppage. Charles Martin. Charles Martin was handily outboxing, you know, Glazkov. He does deserve credit for that win. For me, he does. You know, that was a very, very good win. That was a very, very good win. You know, so for me, I rate that win, and that is the strongest piece of form on both guys' resume. However, Joshua's resume has a lot more strength in depth. You know, he fought Dillian White, Kevin Johnson, Baktov, Konstantin Erich. You know, he's fought a higher caliber of guys in general. Whereas Charles Martin has fought one top 10 guy and a load of bums, let's be honest. So I would actually say, on the whole, Anthony Joshua has a stronger resume. But I think that Charles Martin has the biggest single win. I saw someone asking earlier, I forget who it was, is Charles Martin better than Dillian White? The answer to that is hell yeah. You know, Charles Martin's 6'5", he's a southpaw, he's beaten a top 10 opponent. You know, for me, Dillian White was a prospect with real potential, and he still has got real potential. But Dillian White was poorly conditioned. He had no experience going rounds. His punches were very wide, very slappy, and not overly smart and technical for me. Not overly. So, you know, for me, that's my thoughts now. King Dale says he's attending a boxing club. When you throw a hook, you should turn your wrist to get the knuckle part of the glove on the target. How do this on a bag? Doesn't feel natural. Dale, you know, I can't claim to be a boxing trainer, mate. I'll see if somebody answers that in the chat. Tom O'Brien says both AJ and Martin were late starters, but there's a huge distance in the eye test. Tom, if you want to call in, you can just call. You don't have to video call, whatever you prefer, really, mate. Gaz says Martin was winning the rounds over Glazkov. Totally. He was outboxing the supposedly A-grade boxer. Hacker Time says, question, if Glazkov didn't fall over, what round does Martin win? I'd say the 5th round. I honestly believe Martin was en route to knocking him out. I thought Martin was looking really good. Callum says, so we just assume Martin would have won. That's just dumb. But he did win. He did win. You know, that's like saying, Callum, you know, would Joshua not have beaten Dillian White if Dillian White hadn't been hit by the uppercut? It did happen. Miles is calling in. Miles, how you doing?
Hello.
How you getting on?
Can you hear me?
I can, Miles. How you getting on?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good indeed. Very good indeed. What fights are you up for talking about, Miles? Miles, can you hear me?
I'm sorry about this connection.
No worries.
It'll probably be the Joshua fight.
Okay, how are you seeing that one going, mate?
Joshua by knockout. What about you?
Yeah, I think he'll win by a knockout as well. To be honest, no result surprises me. It's a proper competitive fight. You know, but I think on balance, Joshua by knockout is the percentage call, mate. I think more proven. Yeah. What sort of round do you reckon?
I can't help but feel it's early to mid round.
Early to mid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking round. If I had to pick a round, I'd go round 4. How do you rate Charles Martin?
Well, I haven't seen much of him comment on that. What about you?
He brings some tools. You know, he's a big guy. He's 6'5". He's a southpaw. He judges range well. He can box a bit. He carries a bit of power. He's got a bit of punch variety. You know, he can punch to the body a bit. He can fight up close a bit. For me, he's not as athletic as Joshua. He doesn't punch as hard as Joshua. He's quite upright and he's quite untested. Hasn't been hit to the chin. His defence is unknown. And I guess Charles Martin is a guy with a huge upside, but fundamentally a guy who is unproven. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one, mate.
Yeah, but my only criticism about Joshua, without being an expert in the sport, would be he seems a bit robotic. You know, he seems a bit slow on his feet sometimes, and it doesn't seem, you know, it just seems a bit ordinary. I guess you could say. Yeah,
I mean, certainly in his early fights, he was very stiff, very robotic, and I must say, I got a lot of hate for saying this. He really, really, really reminded me of a David Price. You know, very, very. To be honest, I think I have seen improvements in Joshua. Joshua has outperformed my expectations a number of times. He did better against Kevin Johnson than I thought he was going to do, and you know, Joshua is a guy on the up. He's not as robotic as he used to be. I think my main concern with him is the stamina and the defence. And also, I just don't think he's a natural, instinctive fighter, you know, when he gets hit. People hate it when I say this. People think I'm too Team Fury. But, you know, when you see a punch going at Tyson Fury, he's such an instinctive fighter. He's leaning away. He's rolling. He's bending. You know, he knows exactly how to ride a punch. Joshua, when a punch comes at him, I think he stiffens up. I think he resorts to type. I don't think he's as comfortable under pressure. And you never know, he may be under pressure this weekend.
Yeah, and when you were saying about Tyson Fury and his natural instincts about he knows where to be before the punch has been thrown, you reminded me of Billy Joe Saunders against Chris Eubank.
Yeah. I think Billy Joe and Tyson Fury, there's a lot of similarities there. And, you know, laying my cards on the table, those two are probably my two favourite fighters in terms of the style they fight. You know, those guys, for me, are a perfect blend of very, very technical, you know, very pure boxers. But unlike someone like Rigondeaux, who's like very low volume, very defensively minded, those are two guys who can push the pace a bit. Those are two guys who can lead the offense and fight with high volume at times.
Yeah, I thought that was a good performance by Billy Joe Saunders in the Eubank fight. You know, how he was able to make him miss so much. And there's a variety of punches and so on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's going to be a good weekend, mate. I'm very much looking forward to the fights, I must say.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Miles, crack on, mate. But thanks a lot for calling in as always, and I hope to catch you again.
Oh, that was my pleasure. Thank you for answering my call.
Cheers, mate. Bye now. Bye.
Bye, mate.
Cheers, Miles. Yeah. So apologies if I'm missing the chat. Obviously, I'll give priority to the guys who call in. So I'm keep missing it. Darren says, "Why am I drinking out of a jug?" Which is actually an excellent question, Darren, and it is completely my girlfriend's fault. She has re-bought all the glasses and mugs in my flat recently, and apparently this is the pint glass these days. So yeah, my apologies for that. I can imagine that is raising a few eyebrows in the YouTube boxing community, but obviously there are bigger things to worry about, I guess. So yeah, there seems to be a good bit of back and forth. Tom is calling in. Tom, how you doing? Sorry I missed you earlier, mate.
You hear me, dude?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you getting on?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. You looking forward to the weekend?
Absolutely, mate. Can't beat a good pay-per-view deal from you.
I'd rather I wasn't paying for it, but I will be one of the mugs buying it, definitely. So what about yourself?
find in Eddie Hearn's pockets, can you?
This is it. This is it. Eddie Hearn deserves my money more than I do. Not, but yeah. Do you know what? Like a lot of people are saying, stream it, but I tend not to stream fights, to be honest. When I've done it in the past, I've always found it goes wrong. The internet always dies. The screen you always get some advert. You get some naked lady popping up on the screen. If it's a fight I really want to see, I'm going to pay for it.
Let's face it, this fight's not going to be lasting more than a couple of minutes anyway. So,
are you thinking Anthony Joshua earlier? You?
I was listening to one he calls earlier. I think this fight's going to be won or lost by Joshua in the first 2 or 3 rounds.
Right.
I'm in agreement with some of the viewers in the chat. I think I disagree with you in a sense. If Martin is going to win this fight, I do believe it has to be on the inside, and it's going to be hell for leather in the first 2 or 3 rounds. I can't see him outmaneuvering Joshua, not for 6 or 7 rounds. I think he's got to get in there. He's got to cause him problems. And I'll be honest, I've not seen much of Martin on the internet. A lot of it has been comments I've heard from other people, but apparently he has got a bit of power in that left hand of his. So I think he needs to get inside and he has to cause him problems early on, or else Joshua's just going to find a way through. He's not going to out-jab him.
What do you make of the southpaw element? If we're talking about the fight being on the outside, there's some suggestion that Joshua is a guy who struggled with southpaws in the amateurs. We've seen a guy like David Price struggle when he started to fight southpaws. I mean, do you think there's potential for Martin's southpaw stance? And Martin also seems to judge range quite well and hold range quite well. Do you think that there's any chance he could cause him issues on the outside, or do you think he's got to come in?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's an unknown element of Joshua, but I feel it's a stone not going to be left unturned by the team. I feel like it's at the fight at Joshua's level. I feel like they'd have worked on it definitely.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? I've heard it's very hard to get heavyweight sparring with southpaws just because there aren't too many good ones. So I don't know. I don't know who they'll have brought in to spar with, but you'd certainly think. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
I'll just say it's difficult to judge this fight. I mean, it's a bit of an unknown for a world title fight. It's unknown in my eyes. I mean, not many people have seen much of Charles Martin. He's a bit of an unknown quantity. It's interesting to see how it will unfold, but I feel like he's going to stand there and out-jab Joshua.
No, you're right. It is a complete unknown quantity in that we don't know how good either guy is, and we also don't know about their frailties and about their, the weaknesses in their game at this stage either. It's it's real hard to call actually, and I think that's one of the reasons it's such a good fight. Well, I do think the inside approach would be interesting. Joshua, we haven't really seen someone mix it up with him and try and rough him up on the inside. We do know that when Dillian White got up close, he did cause him some problems. And I have seen Charles Martin fight in the pocket sometimes, but my instinct is that Joshua is going to come out, try and box, try and establish a jab. And I think Martin's going to try and do the same. And I think one of Martin's big plays is going to be to try and drag him late. So it doesn't surprise me if it's a bit tentative first round, second round. But I just wonder when Joshua eventually tags Martin.
Yeah, once that jab lands in the fights we've seen with Joshua, once he knows that he can hurt a guy, there's no mercy, is there?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So it's I sense that when he lands on Martin, he will go straight in for it, and he won't hang around. What about the other fights, Tom? Are you is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to, or you're particularly?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Brian Rose Matthew Macklin fight. I feel like it's last chance to win for both guys.
Yeah,
can't be domestic dust-up.
Totally agree. I think you're spot on there. I think the loser has to maybe exit, and the winner potentially you're going to see in some big fights, maybe domestic middleweight fights, maybe even European level. But do you have an instinct as to who you're going to side with in that fight?
I think I'm just going to side with Brian Rose. I saw Brian Rose live on the whole bill for Tommy Coyle, Luke Campbell.
Okay.
And he seemed to have a bit of heart there. There's a bit of interest with Matthew Macklin. His last few, especially after the George Sebastian Highlander thing, he just seems to be going through the paces now. And I don't know whether he's just trying to look for that last payday to see his career out. But to me, the heart's not there anymore. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I really do. I think he's a spent force. You know, I think he's a real spent force. If I'm completely honest, I don't want to be too hard on Macklin because he's a good guy and he's had a good career. I actually think Matthew Macklin at his very best was slightly overrated. You know, I look at him, I don't think he was ever genuinely a middleweight. Having said that, I don't believe Brian Rose is really a middleweight either. So I guess they're in the same boat there. But I just think that Matthew Macklin is quite basic these days. I don't think he's an overly sophisticated fighter. And don't get me wrong, Brian Rose is hardly Floyd Mayweather. Brian Rose can move. He can box from range a bit. He can mix it up a bit. You know, Brian Rose, he's got a tendency to cut quite easily. He's got some bad scar tissue on his nose. You know, perhaps if Macklin can open that up early, he can try and force a stoppage. But on balance, I'm thinking Brian Rose is where the safe money is for this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
Absolutely.
As far as the rest of the bill goes, I'm disappointed that McDonald's still not getting the fights that we want to see him in. I'm a big McDonald fan. What he's done when he fought Kameda twice in America is fantastic. You know, he's really the underrated world champion we've got in Britain at the minute. And I think actually his question the other day is he's got to that point in his career now where I think he needs to step up weight and chase the fights with Galahad or Quigg, or he needs to be looking at fighting elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, he's a massive guy at the weight as well, and he is a superb fighter. The rumours are, and I don't know any figures, but the rumours are he was paid exceptionally well for the 2 Kameda fights, and I believe there was scope for him to go out to America early on this year for another Heyman fighter with a massive payday. So I believe they kind of put things on hold looking for that fight, and for whatever reason it fell through. So I guess, you know, this is a short notice fight, keeps him active, keeps him busy, and I guess Eddie Hearn is possibly more keen to reward a fighter like McDonald, who's shown such great attitude and, you know, also been loyal to him by sticking him on a bill like this, as opposed to a guy like James DeGale at the minute.
Yeah, it's just a fact. It's a fact that obviously for boxing hardcores who watch the Kameda fights, it's just a bit heartbreaking watching him fighting at 6:30, you know, in an empty stadium. You usually, like, he won the world title when Wembley, do you know what I mean? There's only the stewards in the ground.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's disappointing.
It's a brutal reality, though, isn't it? That this is a business, and the problem with McDonald is not only is he in a very unglamorous weight class, but he also has a style that, you know, doesn't appeal to the casual fan. So you're really dealing with him. And again, I don't want to be critical, but, you know, he's the wrong weight class, the wrong style, and also outside of the ring, he's hardly Prince Patel in terms of talking up a fight, is he? So you're only getting interest from guys like yourself and myself, who, you know, have a real sort of deep interest in the sport, rather than you know, the sort of the average punter who's going to be buying the pay-per-view, I guess. Yeah,
it is a good point. It is a business. It's just a shame that you can't get that opponent. I mean, I think Quigg would be absolutely ideal, especially after his profile after the Frampton fight. I think that's where he needs to be looking next, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. That would be the thing is, I guess, for Scott Quigg as well, there aren't actually that many big fights out there immediately, are there? So you know, that would be a good fight as well. And as we already discussed, Kid Galahad as well. You know, maybe he can come back into the mix and be a big fight for somebody.
Yeah. Rest of the bill wise, I mean, I think Selby's just ticking along nicely until the Warrington fight becomes available. Not saying that should be underestimated, because people in the know are saying that he has got quite a good resume and he can scrap. So
absolutely,
quite looking forward to see how he gets on against Hunter.
Yeah. I haven't actually watched too much of Hunter. I did hear that he was disqualified twice in fights, and he's been a late notice opponent. But, you know, I'll have to look into him in a bit more detail. But what I would say is I think Selby would play with Warrington.
absolutely 100% agreed. That fight's there to sell, no doubt. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be game over for Warrington, because I think not only will it be a bad loss, but I think it will be, the nature of the loss will be so brutally one-sided that people will kind of realise that he's got no chance of ever rectifying it, you know?
Yeah, agreed. I think, to be fair, deep down, does Warrington know that?
Possibly. I mean, the other thing that doesn't surprise me is Warrington is a massive ticket seller. They're clearly doing very good business in Leeds. You know, he's building a Ricky Hatton type following. I wonder if Eddie Hearn and Warrington would be more inclined just to not mess around with that business. Just keep Warrington ticking over for 2 or 3 years, fighting 3 or 4 times a year, selling out stadiums. You know, Josh Warrington was working as a dental nurse a year ago. You know, now he's flogging arenas. Does he want to risk his career in a fight of that nature, or is he happy coming along, collecting huge paydays, selling out arenas? You know, is it actually worth the gamble for Warrington? Is the question.
There's no shortage of opposition in the featherweight division, of quality opposition, isn't it?
It's quite stacked at the top, definitely. And if you throw him into that mix, you know, Warrington is. I view him as like I guess you could say a Rocky Fielding. You know, he's a likable fighter in certain senses, but you know, he's going to lose every single time you step him up to that world level, or you know, he's just a high British level or a low European level fighter, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But he's gonna persist in coming up short for me.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, when he's selling arenas out, he puts yourself in a different position to most other boxers. So I mean, you can't begrudge the guy for what he's doing, but I think he will get found out when he comes against the likes of Selby, etc.
Definitely. No, I agree. Tom, are you got something else to say, or are you done?
That's it, buddy.
I appreciate it, mate. Thanks very much for calling in. Good to speak to you.
See you later.
Yeah, enjoy the fights, mate. Bye now. Thanks very much to Tom there for calling in. Much appreciated. We're not doing so bad for callers tonight. We've done better than we usually do. So thanks very much to everyone who called in. I much appreciate that. Looking into the chat, seeing what I've missed. There appears to be some talk about the Freddie Flintoff fight, bizarrely. Flintoff versus Joshua, if Joshua takes a loss, maybe. Kiwi says Povetkin versus Wilder. What's happening there? I'm not sure. The fight is definitely moving in the right direction. I can't recollect if we've got a definite date. I think that we may do. I think that's a very good fight. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. But I think that Povetkin will get a KO. I think we talk about it a lot on this show, but I think Deontay Wilder's defense is too inept. And I think the second he does his dodgeball style defense, he leans back to defend. Jet, if you're watching that, I'll speak you, mate. I'll do it again because I know you like it. But the second that Povetkin throws a jab, I think Wilder's going to go back like this and throw his hands up to show the judges that he's evaded the jab. But I think, unlike Wilder's other opponents, Povetkin will throw the jab, miss with the jab, and then double it up, overhand right, straight on Wilder's chin. Good night. End of Wilder's reign. That's my prediction. Although, if Wilder comes out and boxes like he did against Bermain Stavern, he can cause Povetkin several issues. And it doesn't surprise me if Wilder wins multiple rounds before getting stopped. Doesn't surprise me whatsoever, should that be the case. Because Wilder can box from range when he's on form. Povetkin is vulnerable to being out-jabbed and out-manoeuvred by a bigger boxer. You know, Povetkin showed some limitations in that Klitschko fight. And I know Klitschko was unsportsmanlike, but Povetkin really disappointed me in the fact that he had no plan B to deal with the size and boxing capability of Klitschko. So we'll have to see. Del Boy says if the US lose both of their heavyweight titles, they'll say the division is boring again. Tom says, what do you think of Chisora versus Pulev? Great fight. You know, hardcore fight, not a glamorous fight, but a fight for us hardcores to enjoy. I think it's a fascinating fight. Pulev deserves to be the favourite. You know, Chisora has shown he's vulnerable against a boxer who's bigger than him, who fights behind a jab, like Tyson Fury. And Pulev's high class, you know, real class amateur, excellent jab. A lot for me depends on what kind of shape Chisora turns in. If he turns up at 18, 19 stone, looking fat, Pulev's going to win. He's going to win by late stoppage or points by jabbing his absolute head off. If Chisora turns up 16.5 stone, 17 stone, you know, in excellent physical condition, he can cause Pulev all sorts of bothers. You know, Pulev showed some ineptitude for me in the Klitschko fight. His best wins other to that were Ustinov, Dimitrenko, and aging Tony Thompson. You know, a peak Derek Chisora can be better than those guys. And for me, Derek Chisora, with his style of really putting it on an opponent, you know, Derek Chisora's a horrible guy to fight when he's at his best. If you look at the Derek Chisora who fought Edmund Gerber, you know, or Malik Scott, he showed some real quality in those fights. And, you know, his body punching, his mauling on the inside, he's gonna do damage. So for me, if Derek Chisora turns up in peak shape, it's a 50-50 fight. And I think Pulev is unproven and won't like a gritty inside fight. If Derek Chisora turns off heavy, he's going to get his head boxed off. Walsh says, Wilder's developing a following amongst the casuals. Martin's distant relatives don't even know he has a world title. Ruben, good evening, Ruben. Apparently in a BBC interview, they say AJ will be the best heavyweight on the planet if he wins on the 9th. If AJ wins on the 9th, I would make him the 5th, 6th, or 7th best heavyweight in the world. For me, Fury 1, Klitschko 2, Povetkin and Wilder 3 or 4 in any order. And I think you've got a toss-up between Ortiz, Pulev, and the winner of Joshua Martin for who takes number 5. You know, Ortiz, very good fighter. His best wins, Jennings and Thompson, put him right up there. Pulev, best wins, Thompson, Ustinov, Dimitrenko. You know, he's up there. But Joshua can maybe take that spot if he knocks out Martin. Jet, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm sound, mate. You?
Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad at all. How's the show been so far? Give me the view from the chat.
No, it's been good. It's been good. The good thing is the calls have been rolling, so
Absolutely.
It's had a good flow to it. Good, probably good that I haven't phoned in. Let everyone else have a chance.
Mate, yeah, no, we did well the other day. Do you know what? I was watching a live show back the other day, and believe it or not, our call was about half an hour the other day. We were on fire, mate. So yeah, we were doing some good stuff.
It's always good when we have a chat, man. Get some good stuff out, as always, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, when we did chat on Monday, I think we were kind of mindful to avoid this weekend's fights because we probably knew that it would come up again at a later date. So yeah, I mean, you've probably heard of my thoughts and predictions now, but yeah, I'd certainly be keen to hear what ones you're looking forward to and who you're picking, mate. I must admit, I haven't checked out your video yet. I haven't had time after work, but I certainly will come to it.
Yeah, no, I've just done one on Callum Smith fielding Cardle.
Okay.
I've also done one on Broner, but I'll probably put that out tomorrow. And I'll do this weekend's tomorrow as well in the evening when I come back. And I'm going to be at uni probably morning tomorrow.
Good stuff.
I'll do that. Yeah, to be fair, I'm looking forward to the AJ fight, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking more forward to the Lee Selby fight, the Jimmy McDonald fight. Those fights are probably going to interest me more, especially the Selby fight. I haven't seen much of this Eric Hunter, I'll be honest. I know he has 2 DQ losses, 1 split decision loss, and obviously he's mandatory. He looked actually really good on the pads, Eric Hunter, so I don't know how it's going to turn out for Selby. How do you think it's going to turn out?
Do you know what? I've been asked by a number of people about him, and I really need to put the time in. I just haven't had the time to watch his back catalogue. I saw him interviewed today on IFL TV, and I think the guy's clearly a character. Let's put it that way. a glance at his record, I mean, it obviously doesn't tell the full story. His record suggests he's a guy who Lee Selby should beat. I mean, I think Lee Selby is very, very high class. You know, I think Lee Selby is a very, very good fighter. He has the potential to be a world-class fighter. He's not there yet. He has the potential to be in the conversation of a pound-for-pound fighter in a year or two's time. And looking at Eric Hunter's record, he doesn't have the kind of record that suggests he has the same upside. But, you know, as the saying goes, styles make fights. And I haven't looked into him. I couldn't eloquently describe his style. So I guess I need to do that research before making a full and proper decision on that.
Fair enough, fair enough. He looked good on the pad, I'll give him that. He's not really, he's a character, but he's not really outspoken. He just says, I'm coming to win. And it's good to have that good mentality. 18-3, you'd expect Selby to kind of go through him. I'd expect, Selby doesn't really have, game-changing power or anything like that. But he has impeccable timing and accuracy. So I think, he might be able to stop him late on, depending on Hunter's punch resistance and that sort of stuff. He's never been stopped, so we don't know what his chin's like. And or we could go for a points decision, unanimous decision. And assuming it's in the UK, I think it might be slightly more generous towards Selby. And the O2, he won the title as well, so you never know.
Yeah,
decent fight. Jay McDonald's also on the card. That's really glad about that. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's a good fighter. I mean, I don't know much about the opponent again. It's Rosas, I think his name is. But I don't know much about the opponent. I actually wanted to see him against Payano, the WBA Super Champion. But after apparently that fight fell out for whatever reason. And Lee Haskins is IBF champion as well. So now Tete's at the weight as well. So there's some good fights. What do you make of Jamie McDonald's fight after this one, assuming he does win?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for Jamie McDonald. I guess he's got two options. I think option one is step up in weight, call out the Quakes, the Galahads, this world, which I think is actually a solid option for him. I think he's a big guy at the weight. I think he could still perform, especially at those weights where the difference between weights isn't so vast. I don't think he can necessarily be small, a weight class above. And I think given the fact that he's a guy who doesn't rely on power, he relies more on movement and the jab, he could be effective, and there's big fights there for him. There's main event fights for him there, which is the most important thing. Or I think he's got to be one of these travelling fighters on the road, going out to see, Al Heyman, going out to the US, taking on the international world champions. Whether they're going to want to keep bringing him over, I don't know, because he proved he was a very, very tough man to beat. The Lee Haskins fight is another one to look at. My concern is McDonald Haskins, it's a big fight amongst the hardcore, but how big is that fight really? How many tickets is that going to sell? How many people are going to be excited about that fight? I just worry that even though that's a good fight to the hardcore, it's not exactly the superstar headline fight that he's going to be looking for.
Yeah, that's the problem now. It's a business now. So Eddie's probably thinking that you'd have to put a really, really strong card, and probably think he got a bit of backlash from last year, the World Britannia card in May. Kell Brook, Frankie Gavin as pay-per-view is probably thinking, I put this and have a strong card. I don't think people will actually turn out for the main event, or turn out for the undercard more so than that. So it's tough. So it's tough on Jamie, because Jamie's obviously better than his brother, much better. He's gone over to the States twice, beat Kanina convincingly the second time. First time, very close, got off the canvas, boxed really, really well to get a decision. Also, he's made a lot of money over there. So for Jamie, he probably think it's better to go over there and make some money. But as you said earlier on in the show to one of the guys who was on a call, or I can't remember who it was, you said that he probably rewards fighters that come over and show some more loyalty or very close to him and that sort of stuff. I'm not sure if you actually saw Eddie Hearn's IFL TV interview yesterday or the day before, and he actually opened up about his relationships with De Gea and Selby.
Yeah, I did. Very telling, very telling. So basically, if you haven't seen it yet, he said that he likes James De Gea, he likes Selby, and he's going to try his best for them, but they are not his top priority because they haven't invested their careers with him, and they haven't. They've kind of weakened his position with their decision. And do you know what? Fair play to Eddie Hearn. And I think De Gea and Selby, in hindsight, made very poor decisions. It's easy to be allured by Al Heyman. It's easy to think. I remember James De Gea giving it large about wanting to fight in the US, wanting to fight in the States. But listen to him now. He's desperate to fight in front of his home crowd. And the truth is that you can probably make more money fighting on an Al Heyman card on PBC than fighting on a Sky Saturday night card. However, you cannot make as much money fighting on an Al Heyman card as you would be by fighting on an Eddie Hearn pay-per-view. I mean, the rumours are Anthony Joshua in his 16th professional fight is going to make £8 million for this weekend's fight. Now, I don't believe that he'll actually make 8 million, but the fact that that's even being rumoured shows just how much money there is at that level in the sport. Now, James De Gea is also an Olympic gold medalist. Unlike Anthony Joshua, he's an established world champion. Unlike Anthony Joshua, he's already been in marquee fights, and he is nowhere near that position in terms of pay-per-view sales. So the truth is, Eddie Hearn could have made him a pay-per-view star. He could have had fights with Martin Murray, George Groves, Badu Jack, and built him into a platform where he had a pay-per-view following. And I think fair play to Eddie Hearn, and I think he's sending a clear message to the Kell Brooks and the Scott Quiggs and the Jamie McDonalds of this world by that interview. And I think that was the purpose behind it. Yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. He said something very telling. He was like, if you don't trust me, I can't give you my 110%. And I can't work 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours around the clock for you. And he also said, what did he also say? He goes, I believe I'm the best person in the business. Like, for anyone, it doesn't matter who it is. I believe I'm the best. And people perceive that as arrogance. It's not arrogance. It's just me believing in myself. And that's the good thing. I think people look at Eddie and they look at his rubbish shows. And yeah, he does have some rubbish shows. Last year, Sheffield, when Kell pulled out with the injury, he was supposed to fight Diego Chavez.
Yeah.
And the Eubank Jr. carried on. That card was horrendous. And don't get me wrong, he's put on some terrible shows in the past. But the shows that he does put on, people still moan about it. Some people still complain, saying, AJ, he's only in his 16th fight. Why are you pushing him for a world title fight? Mate, Eddie Hearn's making money off it at the end of the day. For him, it's also a business. And he said it's a business, but he's there for the journey as well. And it wouldn't be a journey without rolling the dice and taking some risks. So you got to respect Eddie Hearn for that. I give him a lot of credit for that. I do. That interview was very, very honest and telling.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's clear that their business has moved in a different direction. Yeah. For Saturday nights, they want regional fighters. They want guys like Josh Warrington who can sell out regional events. Yeah. They want Birmingham cards, Leeds cards, Hull cards, Glasgow cards. And then the superstar fights are going to be saved exclusively for the pay-per-view. However, whilst people don't like that, I've got to say, this card this weekend, the more I think about it, is such a strong card. I mean, if you want the celebrity, you've got George Groves and Conor Benn. If you want the sort of hardcore fights, you've got Matthew Macklin and Rose and O'Hara Davis. If you want the world championship boxing, you've got 3 world title fights. And then you've got it being led by what I can only describe as the biggest star in UK boxing at present, which for me is Anthony Joshua. It's a great card, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it does in pay-per-views. My instinct was it wouldn't do as well as the Dillian White card, but the latest predictions is it's going to do more than double what the Dillian White card did. So I think that's a fascinating dynamic as well.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely, I totally agree with you on that, mate. Speaking, you mentioned O'Hara Davis. What do you make of him if you've watched him? What do you make of him? How good do you think he could be, and what do you think he could go on to? Like for the English title, what do you think he could potentially go on to?
Do you know what? I actually met O'Hara Davis recently, and he struck me as like a real nice guy. And he's very, very good. You know, he's not been a guy who's necessarily been getting much airtime in the past. He looks real skilled though. He looks very strong, quite powerful, good boxing brain, good technique. And at this point, I would say there isn't a ceiling on him. You know, he's got a long way to go. He's fighting an English title fight, and that's a step up for him. So I'm not going to get carried away and say he's going to be a world champion yet. You know, a lot of people are already proclaiming Conor Ben a world champion, let alone, people are saying they think Conor Ben's going to win a world champion because he looked good in a public workout, you know, which is ridiculous to me. But, you know, O'Hara Davis looks real, real good. But what I have noticed is I don't know if Eddie's had a word with him or if he's had a word with himself. This guy has had a major attitude change in the last month. You know, I don't know if you saw the stuff on Twitter with him turning up at Romeo's, and now all of this disrespect to his opponent today, which to be honest was a bit uncalled for and I thought a bit unpleasant actually, if I'm really honest. But he's obviously looking to push his career forward aggressively. He's obviously looking to make a name for himself, and hopefully for him this Saturday night can be the first step.
Yeah, I mean, with the attitude change, it probably for the better. I know disrespecting your opponent is probably not the best thing, but in terms of medium to long term, it's probably be better because he's been on undercards, and he's never really been showcased by anyone. So I think now he probably needed to open his mouth and speak a bit more. And Romeo obviously speaks as well on Box Nation. So it gets a feud going. It gets a bit of a chat going on in the British lightweight scene as well. So it gets things going. At least he's being recognised now. How do you think him versus Scott Cardle goes by any chance?
O'Hara Davis versus Scott Cardle. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Scott Cardle, I think, has been underrated based on his performance against Dodd. Yeah, I think Cardle is a frustrating fighter, but with immense talent. I really do think certain elements to Cardle's game are world level. Having said that, there are also elements to his game that aren't even Southern area level. So, yeah, it's a balance. You'd have to say, looking at them immediately, O'Hara Davis has the more upside. O'Hara Davis would be the more likely of the two to go on to world championship level. But right now, I wouldn't rule Cardle out. You know, it's too early for Davis. He hasn't had a meaningful fight yet, and I think that I'd be inclined to say that it's a very tight fight now, but a fight I think Davis would win in a year's time. The other thing I would say is if he does fight Romeo. I would pick him to destroy Romeo. You know, I've seen Romeo box a few times. This guy is basic as hell. And I think O'Hara Davis has actually made a very shrewd move by calling him out, because Romeo is dislikable. He's got a bit of a following. You know, he's relatively well known in the hardcore circuit. It would be quite a scalp to beat him, but I think he's poor. You know, I think Davis would eat him.
I think if I'm correct, Romeo is actually quite small for lightweight. I think he should move out to super feather. He's quite ripped as well. When I saw him last fight, which was about two fights ago, I think he looked like ripped and he looked really small against one of his opponents. I think he should move back down to super feather. Maybe even face someone like Mitchell Smith or something like that if he's gonna, he has a big mouth, so might as well just put it to use against another guy who has a big mouth as well. So.
Mate, let me tell you, I actually spoke to Romeo a long time ago at the Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora fight. Two. And do you know what? I always thought with Romeo, because I don't know when he debuted, if he was featherweight or super featherweight, but the guy has a build like a bodybuilder. You know, he has got huge muscle mass for the weight. And I think he turned pro like the day or two after he turned 18. So I was looking at this kid, 18 years old, with all of that muscle. And the first thing I thought to myself is, right, he's weighing in light now, but when he's 20 or 22 or 24, there's no way he's going to be able to carry that much muscle and weigh in this light. And sure enough, he's had to jump up several weight classes. And I believe he has actually fought as high as welterweight before in one of his Frank Warren fights. And I've been told he really struggles to make lightweight and may have to consider moving permanently to light welter. And that is going to signify the end of his career, because this is a guy who, to be honest, doesn't have enough range and doesn't have enough reach for lightweight, let alone light welterweight. And, you know, with his defensive problems, I think he'll get badly found out at light welterweight. I really do.
Yeah, man, I agree. Any of the other fights, not in the UK, if you want to discuss that. Obviously, we talked about Abraham and Ramirez. Has your mind changed on that? Or we talked about Bradley Pacquiao, obviously. What about anything else on that card? I know Oscar Valdez is fighting Evgeny Granovich on the card as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going Bradley points. I'm probably going to go Abraham points. But, you know, there's so many fighters I want to watch. I want to watch Hunter. I want to watch Selby. I want to watch McDonald's opponent. I want to watch more Ramirez. You know, I want to do a bit more research. Just there's so much to talk about with the, you know, the Joshua. I don't know if I'm going to get time to do them all, but I think Arthur Abraham will win. I think Tim Bradley will win. As for the Granovich fight, yeah, Valdez is a fighter who I've seen bits of. I haven't seen enough of him, but he does appear to be one of these prospects with a high upside. Granovich, likable guy, good fights, likable competitor in terms of his style, but I've got to say, really showed his limitations in that Selby fight. And he is a guy who can be outboxed. He is a guy who can be outmoved. And you just wonder if Valdez is going to have too much for him, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Karen in the chat goes, Bradley points, BG has lost the plot. What do you make of that?
To be honest, I think Bradley point, you know, I've laid my cards on the table. I've just filmed a boxing and betting video. I'm going to, betting and boxing video even, I'm going to put up tomorrow. I'm going to be betting on Bradley to win on points. Let's not forget, Callum, he actually won on points the first fight. In the second fight, Pacquiao won on points. So, after 24 rounds of action, the suggestion is that there's not a knockout in any of them rounds. So, it's highly likely it will go to points again. For me, Pacquiao's style isn't going to age well. You know, Pacquiao lost on points last time. Bradley, if he boxes, is world class. Look at Bradley versus Marquez. You know, I think Bradley points is the way to go. I really do. What about yourself, Jet? What's your predictions?
Yeah, for the Vegas card, it's Bradley points, as we spoke about. I'm actually going to go Ramirez points. I don't rate Ramirez, as you know, but I think he might get, you know, a bit generous and probably pick up a few rounds here and there that he's not, you know, probably inclined to. I think Abraham's style probably won't be effective for the American judges.
Yeah.
So I think Ramirez, I'm picking there. But I can see that going either way. Oscar Valdez, I think, is going to beat Granovich. I think he's probably going to stop him late. Not on cuts, but he's going to stop him late. Probably 8 or 9. And yeah, those are the main fights on the card. There's another prospect. I think he's 17 or 18 years old. He trains with Floyd Mayweather Senior. I don't know if you've heard of him, David Haney or something like that.
Yeah, I read about him today. Actually, I read an article about him. Is he 2-0 or something? Is he?
I think so, something like that. His opponent is TBA, and I saw him on Twitter actually, and his pad work with Floyd Senior looks crazy. Looks really, really good. But then again, most people have been saying that about Errol Spence. So we have to wait and see if he's the real deal. It's gonna be a good weekend of action, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, it's a real good weekend, I must admit. It's one of the best weekends of boxing for for quite some time actually. I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, lots of videos. Have you got videos planned for your channel, mate?
Yeah, well, I've got one Broner video for tomorrow. It's just talking about where they go from here now.
Cool.
That's that one there. I got the Smith Rebrass Fielding one, Cardinal up today. That's up already. If anyone wants to go check that out. Probably tomorrow I'm going to do something to do with the undercard on April 9th. Friday AJ prediction as well. Maybe Saturday if I get a chance in the morning as well. I'll do another video. So it's a busy time up until the morning of the evening of the fight. Try and call in early to go to work and come back by about 7 o'clock, and then watch the fights for the rest of the evening.
Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting being a boxing YouTuber at the moment. You've got to like have a calendar up on the wall to plan. You know, you plan your videos and stuff. There's so much to talk about, which is a great thing. Jet, mate, I'm gonna crack on. I'm getting I'm wearing tired. I need to feed myself, I think. But mate, a pleasure as always, and yeah, much appreciated for you to call in again.
No worries, mate. I'll catch up with you before the fight, probably on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loving the profile picture, mate.
Oh, mate, yeah. I spent my afternoon in the office doing that, so yeah.
Looking sharp, mate. Looking sharp.
All the best. I'll catch you soon. Cheers.
Take care, buddy. See ya. Bye.
So thanks very much to Jet for calling in. If you haven't already, do subscribe to Jet's channel on YouTube, which is the Boxing Discussions channel. You know, there's a lot of good boxing YouTube channels, but in terms of the ones that you may not have heard of, in terms of the ones that you haven't already subscribed to, Boxing Discussions with Jet, very good one. He certainly knows his stuff. I've got to say, at times he knows his stuff a lot better than I do. So yeah, give that one a look. Hit the subscribe button on his channel. Much appreciated. Guys, I've been live now for over an hour and a half. I still haven't had my dinner yet, so I think I'm going to need to call it a day tonight and go and refuel, keep up my strength. But I really do appreciate all the calls. It's a really good calls tonight. Really enjoyable calls, real knowledgeable contributors. So thanks so much to everyone who's called in. And thanks very much to everyone who's watched live and joined in the chat. I've got Edward calling in, so we'll do 1 minute with Edward. Edward, how you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Edward. Very good. How you getting on?
I'm fine too, thank you.
Good stuff. Which fights are you looking forward to?
It would have to be the Joshua fight. How about you?
Yeah, it's just a very good weekend, all in all, isn't it? You know, really looking forward to it in general, definitely. So, yeah, which fights are you keen to talk about?
What's your view on Timothy Bradley against Manny Pacquiao?
I'm going Bradley points. Yeah. I think that all in all, it's the right time for Bradley and not the right time for Manny. So I'm going Bradley points. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And the pre-fight press conference today, Timothy Bradley said, if there's ever a time to beat Manny, then it will be this time. And obviously, Bradley is in his prime right now, isn't he? Physically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, I noticed somebody in the chat earlier saying that he had his chin cracks, and you know, maybe there has been a slight sign of his punch resistance decreasing, but I'd certainly say he's more in his prime than you know, than when the Manny Pacquiao is in his prime. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Bradley's showing a good chin, to be honest, throughout his career.
Oh, he's got, yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. He's got a world-class chin, and he's shown that time and time again throughout his career, definitely. 100%, yeah. So, you know, as people have a lot of tough fights, sometimes their punch resistance starts to drop, and, you know, that could be the case in his place. But you know, at the minute he hasn't been knocked out or anything like that. So he's in a good place. And yeah, Manny Pacquiao himself doesn't have the best punch resistance these days, as we've seen in the Marquez fight, for example.
Yeah, and even in the second Bradley fight, Bradley's not known for his punching power, but obviously in the fourth round, he captured Pacquiao with a shot, and Pacquiao admitted that he was seeing stars, as he put it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Bradley's not an elite knockout artist, but he's a hurtful puncher, isn't he? You can't just let him hit you. You've got to keep sound against him. He'll find you out if you're flagging a bit, I think, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Edward, mate, I'm going to crack on. I need to go and prepare myself some dinner, but thanks very much for the call in. Oh, shit. Edward, sorry, very sorry about that. Honestly, I did not mean to press the hang up button there. I was just moving my hand over. So please accept my apologies for that poor form. Unintentional, I promise. Cool, guys. I've been live for 1 hour 35. You can tell I'm getting hungry, hanging up on people by mistake. So my apologies on that. But yeah, guys, really appreciate everyone who's called in. Really appreciate everyone who's taken the time to watch live and to comment in the chat. I've enjoyed it. I hope everyone watching has enjoyed it half as much as I have. You know, and I hope everyone stays tuned. It's going to be a lot of videos on the channel this week. Obviously, I'll be covering the fights and doing good post-fight videos. So thanks very much. Thanks very much indeed. Jet, this is great show, mate. Thanks very much, Jet. Have a good evening. Catch up with you soon. Josh says good work. Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate it, mate. Dale says thanks again, Boxing Gossip. Cheers, Dale. Turan says cheers, Boxing Gossip. Cheers, Turan. Cheers, Bart. Callum's having an argument, but thanks for watching anyway. Callum, enjoyed it with you, mate. Tom says cheers, Boxing Gossip. Cheers, Tom. Thanks very much to everyone watching, guys. Cheers, Captain KO. Appreciate it. If you could hit the like button, give me the thumbs up. That would certainly help. If you're new to the channel, do press subscribe. Join the channel. Join the Boxing Gossip Brigade, and you won't miss out on any of the videos we do during fight week. So thanks very much again to everyone. I hope everyone has a good evening. I hope to catch up with everyone very, very soon. Cheers, guys.